What's up, Game Leapers? Coach Eagz once again bringing you another high elo analysis, this time of FAKER. God himself has returned to playing ranked, and I've decided to show you guys his recent 15-2 Sylas game. Why is FAKER so much better than everyone else? What can I learn from watching the best to ever do it? Those questions we're about to answer, so stick around because you will miss out. Quick shout out to our website GameLeap.com. If you're serious about unlocking your potential in League, then look no further. The market leader in providing you with informative videos, courses and guides uploaded and updated on a daily basis. Please remember to like the video, we really appreciate it, and subscribe so you stay up to date with our must-watch daily uploads. Let's get into it. Tip number 1. Strengths and weaknesses. Knowing when your champion is strong and when your champion is weak is essential if you want to climb as a mid laner. I'm going to quickly discuss Sylas and what we're looking to achieve during the laning phase so we can better understand what FAKER does in this game. Sylas' strengths: mobility, sustain, trading, ultimate. These strengths become legit when Sylas gets to level 3 and level 6. Sylas' weaknesses: short range, early cooldowns. These weaknesses are legit from the outset. Each ability has at least a 10-second cooldown. Unless you run cooldown reduction in your minor runes, then it's at least 9.9 seconds level 1. Just for you Sylas mains out there, that one. And you can get dumpstered by strong early game laners like Syndra and Orianna, so we have to show some respect. So your goal should be to hit level 3 as healthy as possible and to get as much of the CS as you can. You don't want to get chunked before level 3 because your strength spike is weaker. Alright gang, here we go. FAKER is up against a Kalista. Yes, it's a very rare pick, but will be similar to versing a Lucian. Level 1 and Level 2 Sylas is weak, as we've established. Level 1 and Level 2 Kalista is very strong, but FAKER respects both sets of strengths and weaknesses and plays accordingly. In most games, starting E as Sylas is preferred because you get 2 passive stacks, but in very oppressive early lanes it will be extremely risky to dash in for creeps, especially when the enemy laner hits level 2. Like Kalista this game for example, it would mean death. So FAKER starts Q, and even though the damage is minuscule, you can still time it to last hit. I want to focus on 3 things at each level, and this will help us understand what FAKER is trying to accomplish. 1. Trading. 2. Wave management. 3. CSing. At level 1, trading in a lane like this is suicide as mentioned. In terms of wave management, as the wave collided, FAKER wasn't auto-attacking the wave. He has to let the wave push into him. It's too risky to play the first 2 levels closer to Kalista's tower. As Sylas, you're great at setting up ganks when your strengths come online, so keeping the wave in front of your tower is the goal. If the lane is longer, you can also hunt the Kalista down, or whoever the enemy mid laner is. There's more space to operate. He CS's with his Q, and only his Q for the first 2 levels. FAKER hits level 3 and all of a sudden moves up. His strengths have come online and can now look to trade. Let's pause it and look at the map. Graves is pathing mid from topside river, and as Sylas you have the crowd control to set up ganks. It's actually very smart what FAKER does. Kalista runs down a very narrow path outside Raptors, and FAKER makes sure to engage before she gets past the wall. This gives Graves the time he needs to get to the fight, and they eventually pick up the kill. Kindred tries to turn the situation around but nothing happens, and after the dust settles, FAKER shoves the wave mid. Why? To deny Kalista farm and to reset the lane. If FAKER doesn't shove when the minions are like this, what could happen? It's not that bad to be honest, but when Kalista returns to lane, she can last it and keep the wave in a riskier position for FAKER. Therefore he gets the next wave into the enemy turret, so wave 6 bounces back to your neutral position. This is the only time you want to be pushing into the enemy in oppressive early game matchups as Sylas. When they die, to maximize your gold and to minimize theirs. Let's pause it, and here we see the effect of excellent wave management. FAKER has created a massive minion wave after shoving. Also notice how FAKER paths towards the brush and not back to his tower. Now yes, Graves being here is a luxury, but if he wasn't, FAKER would still have a good chance of escaping. Kalista overcommits and dies, and the lane is now over. Kindred dies next, so what does FAKER do with the wave? That's right, he shoves it, and he gets it into the enemy tower. Kalista misses most of this wave. Look at it. There's no way this dude ever plays Kalista mid again, right? Like, just surely not. Anyway, let's quickly recap the key points of the early game. Play safe until power, let the wave push into you, start Q to CS in very hard matchups. I also want to point out that FAKER put another point in his Q at level 4 to help with his wave clear, and maxes out E each level after. Let's quickly talk about his first base. Why would he buy a Seeker's Arm Guard first this game and not a Lost Chapter? Now yes, he has blue buff. Look at the enemy team composition. The only magic damage is Lulu, and FAKER will be fighting Kalista and Kindred for most of this game, so Arm Guard beats him up and makes him unkillable. He loses 20 ability power and 10% cooldown reduction, but the stats in a game like this are more worth. Arm Guard's passive is also very useful, and FAKER's lane has already seen a lot of action. With the lead he has, it's very likely he gets more kills. Zhonya's is also a core item in Sylas and will definitely be built this game, so an early Arm Guard is more than justified here. Important tip here. When you have an advantage in lane, whether that be in terms of damage, levels, health, mana, you want to fight the enemy mid as much as possible. Now Faker can't overcommit here because of Kindred of course, but not fighting would mean stalling out the game and Kalista might be useful. Those mechanics were pretty nuts by the way. I want to pause it again and show you why it's so important letting the lane push into you as Sylas in the early game. It doesn't matter if you're weaker, stronger, you are much more of a threat the more space you have to track down the enemy mid. Even when Faker moves up ever so slightly, Kalista has to back off because the danger is that legit. I love what Faker does here. What's he doing? Well, Kalista is probably recalled, but Faker wants to make sure so he can make a decision with the wave. He doesn't know whether to freeze it or shove. Now this lane would freeze for a couple of waves perhaps, not indefinitely, but it makes it harder for Kalista to play. The fight breaks out bot however and Faker teleports and they end up killing the center. Faker runs back to mid and Grace solo kills the Kalista. She's copping some reports after this game for sure. So what does Faker do regarding the wave? Shove. Correct. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Shoving doesn't just maximize your gold and minimize the enemies, it creates opportunities for your team. Because of the priority it gives you, meaning you have first rotation as a mid laner to fights elsewhere on the map. I'm sure you have heard of junglers talking about lanes having prio and then complaining when they die. Well, this is what they are referring to. Who gets to scuttle crab first, for example? Even though nothing materializes here, Faker is there before Kalista. Essentially, it frees up graves and makes the rest of the map more accessible. I just want to slip in a quick thank you to those of you who are watching the video. We really appreciate it. These videos are uploaded daily, so make sure you are around for tomorrow's video, the one after that, and after that, etc. You are not going to want to miss out on any of the bangers we produce. Expert tips and analysis made for you guys. Back to the game, and I've paused it to show you the difference with the lane now to how it was for the first two levels. Look at Faker's positioning. His willingness to trade now and not sit on a tower. This is what playing to your strengths means. Level 6 has arrived, as has the end for Kalista and co. Faker and Graves coordinate this very well and there is no escaping that for the Kalista. Faker shoves the wave, maximizing those gains bruh, and backs because he can buy Lost Chapter. Cooldown reduction is crucial on Sylas. Lost Chapter builds into Hextech GLP and Ludens, so going one of them is essential. Your whole playstyle revolves around your abilities, so CDR is of the utmost importance. Since level 3, the lane has been played perfectly by Faker. Apart from respecting Kindred, Faker has looked to trade with Kalista at all times, CS more freely, and is now out-leveling her. One of the biggest tips from this game, guys, is to synergize your playstyle with your champion's identity. Way too many players in low elo and most mid laners I've coached don't play according to their power spikes and power dips. Not sure if power dips is a term, but I'm going with it. Graves gets dragon for free, so in your games when you are stomping mid as much as Faker is here, ping dragons, rift heralds, and enemy buffs. Look to extend your lead and impress your advantage on the rest of the map. You don't want to play the same way when you are 4-0 as when you are 0-4. Both are very different. I don't actually think that applies to Yasuo mains though, from my experience anyway. Sylas turns into an assassin later in the game, and even at this point Faker has a massive lead and his burst damage is insane. And what do we want to do when we have an advantage, fam? Fight. That's it. So Faker catches Kalista rotating towards topside, and let's quickly look at this combo. Faker E's over the wall, auto attacks and procs his passive, E's and W's at the same time, auto attacks proccing his passive again, Q's, and gets in 2 more auto attacks with his passive stacked. So what did Faker's combo tell us about Sylas and his kit, if you haven't figured it out already? Use your passive stacks and auto attack. Faker E'd and auto attacked instantly. Petricide Burst, Sylas's passive, gives you 80% attack speed after using an ability. If you are not in range, then following your first E with W is standard, but Faker is in range of Kalista here and you'll see this most often in melee matchups. In any situation you want to maximize your damage per second or DPS, and auto attacks play a big role in that. The second thing I noticed was how he used his cooldowns in a combo, and what I mean by this is using your cooldowns as quickly as possible, as coordinated as possible. 2 benefits to this. Your burst damage is a lot greater because you're using more abilities quicker, and your cooldowns will be back up sooner. And remember, Sylas is cooldown based, so in extended fights you want to be using your abilities as many times as you can. Kalista comes back to lane and we're going to count how many times Faker procced his passive. 4 times, right? And that's in just over 2 seconds. So for those of you in lower elo playing Sylas, I can't stress to you enough how important this is. It's very similar to Riven in a way. The best Rivens get in as many auto attacks as possible, and the not so good ones just use their abilities and might auto attack once, let's say. Same with Sylas. Always be conscious of using your passive after abilities, otherwise what's the point of it being there? Not using it would be inefficient, and that's the cardinal sin. What Faker did then, by the way, was also sick, stealing Kindred's Hour and timing it perfectly after killing Kalista. But we continue. Faker then fights Kalista and flashes after her and kills her, and tries to turn into Rambo on 1v9, but isn't that strong just yet. Just relax, Faker. Alright, just relax. When mid and late game hits, I want you guys to think about what champions on the enemy team you can assassinate as Sylas. You have mobility and burst damage. This is what Faker does here. He anticipates where Kalista will path after she farms top and picks her off. Playing unseen makes you an assassin. You're not an assassin when you're farming minion waves topside. So think about where the enemy ADC or mid laner, for example, will farm and set up for a pick and fog. After shoving out top, Faker teleports bot lane and finishes off Lulu. Always run teleport in your Sylas games, guys. Because of your mobility, you're so good at chasing enemies down if they run away, which will be the case most of the time. At the end of the next fight, guys, the enemy team FS, Faker was just too strong on Sylas. So take these lessons and apply them in your Sylas games, yeah? I know for sure you will climb out of the abyss that is Elo Hell. Thanks so much for watching. If you're still here, please drop a like to help the video out. Subscribe so you don't miss any of our red hot daily uploads, and have a gander at our website GameLeap.com. Videos, courses, guides, all made by challenger level players and coaches to help you improve your game. This has been Coach Eagz. Until next time, peace.